Modern culture treats mortality as a failure or a biological glitch. We spend immense energy keeping death at a distance, sequestering the reality of our end behind sterile hospital walls, and avoiding the subject entirely in public life. We rely on a process of sanitization to make death disappear. We hide it behind layers of makeup, polished steel, and thick wood. Once the casket is lowered, we bury the evidence under layers of earth, sealing it away from our daily routine. This active erasure creates a profound cultural blind spot. By removing the end from our sight, we lose the perspective that comes from recognizing the natural human cycle. The Chapel of Bones in Portugal shatters this distance immediately. Over its entrance, an inscription offers a blunt welcome. "We bones that are here are waiting for yours." This view of the chapel's interior reveals the scale of that promise. These walls and pillars are not made of stone. They are cemented tightly with the skulls and femurs of 5,000 people. The chandelier in the Sedlec Ossuary takes that immersion a step further. It is a sprawling masterwork of anatomy, incorporating every single bone in the human body, from the heavy pelvis to the smallest vertebrae. While these spaces trigger a modern instinct of horror, they were never intended as a display of dark magic. They were engineered as holy provocations, built to force the viewer to look at what they spend their lives avoiding. The origin of these chapels lies in the 14th century Black Death. A series of plague outbreaks and brutal wars effectively wiped out half of Europe's total population. The result was a logistical nightmare for the Church. Graveyards across the continent were filled to their absolute capacity, leaving no room for fresh corpses. To solve the crisis, gravediggers exhumed the older remains to create space for new burials. These bones were cleaned and moved into stone charnel houses, where they were stored respectfully to await the day of resurrection. What began as a desperate attempt to manage overflowing graveyards inadvertently provided the Church with a massive, raw canvas of human remains. Over time, simple storage evolved into art. Monks and skilled woodcarvers like František Rint decided that if these remains were to be seen, they should reflect the glory of the divine through complex geometric design. This is the Schwarzenberg coat of arms, a display of incredible precision built entirely from ribs and pelvic bones. Every line and curve is formed by human capital rather than wood or metal. The sheer volume of material is difficult to comprehend. Artists like Rint bleached tens of thousands of skeletons in chlorinated lime, sorting them by size and shape to create a uniform architectural palette. By transforming individual corpses into sweeping architectural elements, these creators built environments where human vanity is dwarfed by the sheer scale of the dead. This transformation served the philosophy of memento mori, a reminder of one's mortality. In an age of extreme wealth and mercantilism, the Church used these chapels to ground the living. These robed skeletons in the Capuchin crypt stand as silent, time-bound watchers. Their hollow eye sockets meet the gaze of every visitor, serving as a mirror for what those visitors will eventually become. In these rooms, death acts as the ultimate equalizer. Stripped of skin and status, the skull of a king is biologically identical to that of a peasant. This carved relief of a skeleton leaning on an hourglass illustrates the core message. It was a reminder to the wealthy that power and money cannot buy extra time. These displays were designed to strip away the ego of the living, using the raw reality of the bone to cure the audience of their materialism and pride. In the mountain village of Hallstatt, Austria, a different tradition emerged. Here, a severe lack of land meant burials were only temporary, forcing families to confront their ancestors directly. After 10 years, families would exhume their own relatives, cleaning the remains with care and laying the skulls in the sun to bleach. These skulls in Hallstatt are decorated with ornate floral patterns and names. They are identified, remembered individuals. The detail in these red roses reveals a painstaking process of remembrance, a tender expression of eternal love, keeping them in the community. Hallstatt demonstrates that confronting death can move past horror. When approached with this level of care, The process becomes an act of deep connection and empathy. When the mathematical precision and the original intent of these monks are understood, the character of the shock changes. The structural complexity begins to outweigh the initial fear, turning a site of death into a site of awe. These spaces function as physical libraries of the human experience. Every grain of dust in the air is a literal remnant of the thousands of lives that now form the walls. Standing within them requires an acceptance of our biological reality. It frames the human cycle as an equalizing force that no one escapes. Ultimately, bone churches serve as a structural instruction manual for the living. By removing the distractions of the individual ego, they leave room to recognize the fleeting beauty of life.